Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have a special guest. You all have met him before if you've watched.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
If you've watched previous videos, wa alaikum salam. If you have watched my other videos, you've met my husband before. So, the reason I called him on today's video is really, I want to say a part 2, or maybe clearing up a video I'd made before called Why I Am Not Buying Permanent Record by Edward Snowden. Now, in that video, I was just trying to express the reason why I personally did not want to buy the book. I was not trying to discourage anyone else. However, many of the comments reflected or seemed as if the people who were writing the comments understood the video to be me trying to discourage people from purchasing Edward Snowden's book. In a nutshell, what I was trying to say about Permanent Record is that it, to me personally, once again, it really wasn't anything new. When I watched his interviews, the things he said, they weren't really new to me, they weren't surprising, and I compared him to a conspiracy theorist, the late William Cooper, and I think people took that and sort of misunderstood it. The majority of the comments or feedback was very positive, and I thank you all for that. And it's not that I want to dwell on comments that weren't agreeing with me, but it was more so the reason why I even wanted to make today's video is because of a comment that was left a few hours ago, and I actually told the person who left the comment that I was going to make this video in response to his comment. So the reason why I have my husband on today is because we have somewhat different outlooks, or we look at we have different views on the situation at hand as far as the government and how they use data to essentially spy on us. In my video, the conclusion that I was coming to is that we have to have, the only thing we can do about it is, the only thing we can control is our conduct. We can't control what the government is saying or doing with the information that they collect on us, because unless you are ready to go off grid, you're just not going to be ready. So, my husband has a different point of view. To get to this comment now, the comment was left by Joe Graybill. Thank you so much for leaving this comment, because it actually brewed up the conversation, or stirred up the conversation, which led to us making another video on the topic. He says, if you want to avoid any sense of paranoia that the U.S. government is spying on its citizens without any kind of warrant, then by all means, don't read Permanent Record. But just because you might come away feeling a bit paranoid, that doesn't mean that the book is wacky. It doesn't mean that the book is a wacky conspiracy theory. I'm not the one to tell another which books they should or shouldn't read, but to claim Snowden's book is a tin hat type of book without reading it is a disservice to your viewership. If Snowden had published his information on some random conspiracy website, or even with WikiLeaks, it has a habit of being political, then I would understand your hesitation. But Snowden published it with and was vetted by The Guardian and the NYT, not exactly havens for conspiracy nuts. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to give off that impression. I wasn't trying to call it a wacky conspiracy theory. Mr. Joe Graybill, I did not intend for the book or my review to say or come across as if he is a tin hat conspiracy theorist, although I did compare his work and his writings to the late William Cooper. Now, I am going to go into asking you, because it sort of, the two things have to do with one another somewhat. All the latest rave about WhatsApp. If you have turned on your if you have WhatsApp and you've opened your phone lately and you saw this disclaimer or this notice that you have to agree to the terms that WhatsApp can have access to your information, and meaning that certain things will no longer be encrypted. Is that correct?
No, it just means they are letting you know that the different ways that they plan to access and utilize your data.
Right. So, okay. I look at that as they are just looking at it, they are trying to market or they want to know their users a lot better so that they can market towards making themselves more money. So, for example, if you search up certain things, then the next thing you know, you'll see an advertisement for it.
That's a bit of an oversimplification.
Okay, but I find that, not to say I don't have a problem with it, but I find it like, okay, why do I have to live a paranoid life about something I have zero control over?
So let me. This
Mhm.
is the
This
disclaimer.
is what I call them up here for.
It doesn't really affect every individual the same until you have a privacy related incident with one of these big brother type organizations, whether it's the federal government, whether it's Google or YouTube or whomever. It doesn't affect everyone the same until you encounter a privacy issue. Privacy is your right to live your everyday daily life without Big Brother snooping and watching what you're doing. And while it's a personal thing to each his or her own.
Subjective.
It's very subjective. So while it might not bother you as an individual, I cherish my right to privacy. If I want to go and search Amazon for, some item, I don't want Google snooping and then telling, Facebook that, hey, when it comes to your page, pop this little ad up that shows this item he was looking for. As an example, that's very common. But it could be more severe, right? I don't have any level of trust in Big Brother. To me, Facebook, Google, YouTube, they're all in cahoots with the federal government. They all are intertwined and intertangled. And so they all share data. Hey, what are so-and-so's browsing habits? What time of day do they browse these particular sites? And while as an individual, there are so many hundreds of millions of people in the United States, okay, they might not be snooping and spying on every single one, but the idea that, okay, you install Facebook, you have so many different levels of interpersonal communications with whomever is in your list of contacts, even some who might not be in your list of contacts. The pictures you share, the text, the voice texts you send, all of those things they have access to. Now, the reality is, if you have a smartphone, there is a certain level of access that Google has regardless, that you can't even turn off unless you, subvert the operating system and install an application that specializes in helping you go dark on a smartphone. I mean, there are a lot of different nuances to enhancing your privacy on your device, on any mobile device, or any device.
All right. So, okay. Within the past 24 hours, we know a lot of people who have left WhatsApp to move on to another app called Telegram, right? Mm-hmm. Because of this new, this new warning or notice that WhatsApp sent out after Facebook purchased or bought WhatsApp. Now they want certain access that they in my mind, they already had the access, but they're letting you know now that they will be that they will have access to your information, right? People are leaving one app to go to the next app, and to me, it's all the same.
It's bigger than that. If you read the fine print, what Facebook is saying is, hey, listen, this is our intellectual property, and the only right you have to use it is by agreeing to whatever we dictate. Right? That's an infringement on the privacy of the everyday individual. That's saying, hey, you want to use this, you got to hit agree. If you don't hit agree, then we're going to forcefully remove the app from your phone. That's a different story altogether. While you might not, as you saw it, there's a certain amount of compromise that you have to reconcile within your psyche in order to utilize this phone, this mobile device. You have to understand, the minute I turn it on, in order to utilize the phone, I have to submit to certain guidelines with respect to my privacy and allowing certain rights to be bypassed on the phone.
Right.
So,
okay.
And so you do that. Hold on. But to have a screen pop up in your face that says, hey, you either have to agree to this or you have to just not use the app. That's a totally different story altogether. So it's not just about, hey, we're going to leave this app for another. No. Your privacy is your right. And if you choose to accept whatever the agreement is, whatever the requirement is, okay, that's every individual's choice. Me personally, having the knowledge that I have about cryptography in our everyday lives and how to protect myself from someone snooping, namely, big companies or Big Brother as they call it, that doesn't bother me. I don't use WhatsApp like that anyway.
Okay, can I just interrupt just to say
Sure.
this? Just to put it this way. Back to the why I'm not buying the book, permanent record, things like that. The things that are written in permanent record, yes, they are very true. But I think the bigger picture is, what I was trying to say in the video, the initial video, is your conduct, the way of life, living with purpose, right? A lot of the times people get on the internet, they get on these apps and they misuse them, they abuse them, they post all sorts of, they use it for hate speech and crimes. And for example, the president's Twitter account was just suspended, right?
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, I think they fired him too, right?
Yes, he was fired from both Facebook and Twitter.
Right, because he was abusing it. He was not living with, I don't want to say he was not living with purpose, but he was being senseless on there. A lot of people use these platforms to be senseless. The people who probably their rights do not feel like they are being infringed upon are people who are living with purpose. They have businesses on there. They market, they want the attention, actually. Mm. That is what the platforms were built for in the first place. YouTube was built for sharing, not for insulting people and putting out your opinion that brings the next person down, or to spread xenophobia or Islamophobia or anything like that. It was used to build bridges and to bring people together. That's my understanding. Same with Facebook. And now, of course, it's easy to jump on a negative bandwagon.
So
it is debatable, yes, but it's easy to jump on a negative bandwagon and say this, they want to spy on you and they want to do this, and probably, especially if you like movies like Enemy of the State, you definitely believe that they want to spy on you, Big Brother, the government, whoever, right? But I look at it, for example, Imam Omar Suleiman. He's on every platform that you can think of, but he's living with purpose on there. He is trying to generate peace and enlightenment and understanding of Islam, right?
Right.
From what we can see. We don't know his personal life because he's not sharing that on the internet. He's living with purpose. There are so many people who live with purpose. I think the masses who don't understand why they are being spied on.
Well, let me just put this out there. So what happens when Imam Omar Suleiman runs afoul of the agenda that's promoted in mainstream societal culture, and all of that stuff that he's put out there? Guess who has access to it to utilize and twist and whatever?
Well, the same thing that happened with Imam Anwar al-Awlaki. Allah be pleased with him.
Yeah.
The same thing that happened with him. But it's, I mean, according to our belief, is victory or martyrdom. You can promote Islam as much as you want, but if the enemy of Islam is after you just because you're promoting Islam, you can't stop promoting Islam.
Right. But couldn't Omar Suleiman just secure his communications so that no one can snoop on them the way it's done every day in the United States?
No, that's not even his purpose. I don't even think he wants to. I don't even think he wants to hide what he's doing.
No, it's not a matter of.
Okay, secure.
Here's the key. It's not a matter of hiding.
Okay.
But if you're the type of person, and you just don't want anyone looking over your shoulder, then that's just who you are.
But okay, so I use him because he's not the type of person who doesn't want someone looking over his shoulder. Everything he's doing is with purpose. He's putting out, much like our sheikh, he puts out videos. He has had people, for as long as I've been alive, he's had people come and study under his guidance, and study at the Zavia, and study at the, as early as I can remember, there were men who would go and study at Jamia Naimia. There's a school in Lahore, and Pakistan. And people would go there and they'd study language and Islamic studies and all of this, and he would record everything. We have tapes from audio cassette to video cassette to CD, more recently is like Skype. He would record every single thing because his whole life is lived with purpose. Now, if you're running around being a fool, no, you don't want people to capture that. If you're running around being a criminal, no, you don't want people to capture that. But at the same time, you have CCTV everywhere. People have cameras on it. Look at Tesla has 9 cameras on its car.
Right, and there are.
So you're going to go around scratching cameras off people's cars? So
well, the majority of major cities they've already instituted things like facial recognition throughout the city. Right.
So
and I think, to your point, living a life of sensibility and purpose, that's the golden rule.
Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam lived his life with purpose.
Right.
If we were to embody that, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
But the reality is, privacy. As a citizen, you have the right to personal privacy. You have that right. That is your right.
Right.
The fact that you pay taxes, and those taxes are used for whatever they're used for, right?
Mm-hmm.
The big telecommunications companies have given the government the fattest pipe into their networks. So everything you do, whether it's on a mobile device or whether it's on your computer Wi-Fi network that goes out to the internet, they already have access to that. Okay? Maybe a person who's living with purpose just wants their privacy to be protected. That's your right as a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't want the government just trawling for all of your data and making a profile,
Mm-hmm.
right? That they can utilize against you in some way, sometime down the road.
Would it be, I don't want to say, so I'm not going to say, is it possible to live a life offline, not necessarily off grid, but you want all of this privacy? Is it possible that you can just not use your smartphone? Because this is a government device and you put it in every home and they made it very easy.
Not only is it possible, it's probably the most fruitful thing you could ever do. I mean,
so you want to use the government device, but you don't want anything to do with the government. You want your privacy, but you want to use their device.
well, again, it's not so simple.
We have two different
You
views.
want your privacy, you want your conveniences, but you don't want the snooping to take place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reality is you can't necessarily have one without the other. But if you take your privacy seriously,
Mm-hmm.
then the first thing, just like if you were a Muslim striving to be the best Muslim you can be a person who is woke about personal privacy and what it takes to maximize your privacy. One thing I'll tell you is the governments around the world are fighting in every court possible to infringe on that and make sure that it's legal to infringe.
Mm-hmm.
All of the companies that promote secure network communications that allow you to maintain your personal privacy, they're trying to shut them down. They're trying to find loopholes to get them to, forcefully make them provide the methods that are used to encrypt personal communications on these types of on mobile devices and on their, company servers. They're trying to forcefully get them to provide those keys, right? But the reality is, if you really, really, really value your privacy, personal privacy, that's the way of life, right? You have to, it's not just that you leave one app for the next. In every act, in every part of your daily life, you're asserting your right to privacy and living your life as such. And that begins with becoming knowledgeable about all of those areas of personal privacy that are important and how you maintain it. You know, you use the examples of an enemy of the state. In that movie, Gene Hackman went above and beyond to stay off the grid. And really, there really isn't any other way if you want to go 100%. But there are a lot of things you can do to maximize your personal privacy without giving up every single convenience of your daily life. And you just have to get educated on that. Google's your friend. You can Google and Google and Google and Google and Google. One, key unlocks these treasures, and then those treasures, you'll find another key that unlocks the next treasure where personal privacy is concerned.
You just said Google's your friend. Everyone says Google's your friend, but then you turn around and get
use
mad.
it against them.
No, and you turn around and get mad when you find out that Google's not your friend because you thought everything was encrypted.
No. The point of searching is not because it's encrypted or not, but you have to get there first.
Let's talk about encryption.
What about encryption?
Let's just talk about how you think that everything's encrypted because the government told you it was encrypted, and then...
No, I don't believe anything because the government... I don't believe anything is encrypted because the government is encrypted.
I'm having fun, I'm sorry.
I just believe if you're up to the challenge of beating Big Brother, then beat Big Brother. Go to whatever length you deem necessary to beat the adversary.
Okay, sorry, but, for anyone who's non-Muslim here watching, I don't, no offense intended, but this is the point where, to me, following the Sunnah is so important because Holy Last Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would go to the cave, to Mount Hira, and he would get away from the rest of the world, and he wouldn't be of this world. He would be in this world, but not of this world. You can find the same practices with monks. You can find the same practices with people who are looking for that inner peace and all of that, but they're not on electronics. They're not on tablets and smartphones, and they're not on the internet, right? So, in my other video...
Not much, anyway.
In my other video, I was trying to say husnul khuluq, or the best of conduct, meaning to follow the way of the Holy Last Messenger, peace be upon him. Whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, it's not very, I don't want to say it's not very hard to follow his way. It becomes difficult because you become a stranger to this world, but you don't have to worry about encryption.
No, that's true.
You're living off grid. You're not trying to eat every day and consume so much and swiping that card, and now they know your shopping, they know you're spending, what you're spending, they know about your commute, they know about the items and the things that you purchase when you're online. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff following the way of the Holy Last Messenger, or just living with purpose.
No, that's true.
Just focusing and making your life purposeful and meaningful. But then again, you do have to think about the chemtrails in the sky when the planes fly over. You can try to grow your garden all day, but if a chemtrail settles on your garden or whatever they're flying and spraying over your garden, you have that to worry about, sure. But, I mean, you can follow the Holy Last Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in his lifestyle, or you can worry about your phone being hacked into.
Well, for those who walk this path over here where you live a very simple life and you don't have access to a smartphone, you spend cash and you just live a very basic life and you retreat to the mountains and disconnect from the world.
Or you can be self-sufficient and trade with your neighbors.
Right, and all of those things. That's fine. For the billions and billions of others, if you value your privacy, go fight for it.
Okay.
And fight as hard as you can, or as hard and as far as you have the will to fight for your privacy. It's your right.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways to secure yourself against that. So if you want to know, yes, Google's good for that, right? Go Google it. But then when you decide to invest in your privacy and make privacy a part of your daily life, that's when you pull back from searching Google. But you've already gained the knowledge, so you know how to put that knowledge into practice.
Okay. I think what you're saying makes sense. At the end of the day, yes. You should fight for your privacy. And on the flip side, you can either relax and live life with purpose. Since to me there isn't much, I want to say it's an uphill fight. You know what I mean? I'm not against it, obviously, but it's
a fun fight.
It's
fun.
To me, it's a waste of time because for years they've been trying to. You're absolutely correct in wanting to have full rights to your privacy. What I'm trying to say is use every opportunity that you have. We're not promised tomorrow. Use every opportunity that you have to be an example. You know? So the quote is, live amongst people in such a way that if you die or if you pass away, they weep for you, and if you're alive, they yearn for you, or they want to be in your company. And that's really how I see it. I guess I just don't have the fight in me. I just, not to say I don't care anymore, because I don't want to sound like I've given up, but for me the reality has become every year the government is working tirelessly at improving their ways to invade your privacy or your life or to take over whatever it is. So I feel like we should work just as hard to live the best examples and the best life and to be the bigger person, the better person, and set an example with what we have. If you don't have a lot of money, if you don't have means, well, you live a very humble lifestyle. You don't go off spending up credit cards and going into debt and trying to impress people with, put it this way, there's another quote that says, stop trying to spend money that you don't have to impress people who don't have money. So I feel like don't live like that. Just live the best life according to your means. And
that's good
unless you have the money that the government has, you're probably not ready to go off grid, because that's not inexpensive either. What else can I say? And I was just saying I don't want to read Edward Snowden's book because it didn't sound like, from watching all of his interviews, watching many of his interviews, he didn't sound like he was bringing anything new to the table. And I was like, I just don't feel like being scared into another, oh my gosh, what do we do? The sky is falling scenario. I get your point of view. You're saying fight for your rights and your privacy. And I'm saying,
if you want, if it's in you, if that's it's your preference.
I'm saying let them watch. Be the example that they need to see. You never know how a person's heart will change. I don't know. I could be very wrong. I'm just a servant in this suit.
We all are.
Okay, well, that's the I want to say the sequel.
The sequel?
Why I'm not buying Edward Snowden's book, Permanent Record. And I really appreciate the comments that you all left. I'm so sorry. I think YouTube is deleting a lot of the comments. There were some comments on that. They may have come across as abrasive or just really harsh, but I didn't take them that way. I wish I would have addressed them earlier, just because I think YouTube has deleted them. I haven't deleted any of the comments from there, but they're gone. So I only got to read, excuse me, I was only able to read this comment from, what was his name, Joe Graybill? Was it?
Yeah, I think that was his name.
His name was Dro Graybill. So thank you very much for that comment. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Was there anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay,
Fight for your rights.
Make sure that you fight for your rights, okay? And also make sure that you are living in the best conduct so that you can be that person that you would like to meet in this world. Be that decent person. I guess the cat is saying hello too. Yeah, he's busted. Anyway, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. Please tune in for another video. Share this video if you found it interesting. And we'll see you in the next one, inshallah. Tabarak wa ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.